recap with Dylan and some finalists every season. And this was a wild season, wouldn't you say?
Insane. I thought you had it for a second. I noticed you were still alive as of night 9, the night before the finale, and I feel like you didn't catch a stray until the end. So
I thought I had it too. I didn't catch a stray until the last couple of minutes of night 9. I was one of the few like more public facing people left in the game. All the other finalists were I mean, I was going to ask you this too actually, like out of the 68 finalists, I think there are maybe only 5 to 10 max names that I even recognized from the space.
Yeah, I think what's come to light in the 24 hours since the finale is that while we didn't let anyone play anonymously and we required the Twitter connection, there were a lot of brand new Twitter accounts that were basically representing players. So I think you have Zero X Designer on later, and definitely one of the most like well-known names in the space. And I'm pretty sure he had an undoxed NFT in the finale. I heard some chatter about that on crypto Twitter.
Okay, good to know.
But yeah, I think it's always so surprising to me, kind of why people get voted out and when. I've probably mentioned this to you, but it's like, are they too well known so they people assume they don't need the money, or are they too good at the challenges so they're perceived a threat, or are they so good at the challenges that people want them to be kept around? And there's always a nice mix of folks that kind of sneak into the end, but it's hard. It's a really, really, really hard game to win.
I get the sense it's kind of a mix of both. It seems to me like earlier on in the game, the well-known people are kept around because everyone is trying to vote off all the anonymous people, the inactive people, so that they don't drag down the scores. And then as the game gets closer to the end and people start thinking about that final prize and what it takes to win it, then they realize, shoot, these people that I've kept around with me, these friends of mine, have a much better chance of winning it all than I do. And so I got to get them out. So I think that strategy probably shifts, around, I don't know, maybe after that touch grass day.
Yeah, post-merge, when it kind of like the tribes are no longer and it switches to an individual game, is always when it gets a bit more cutthroat.
The funny thing, though, is that the tribes kind of still existed in a sense, even though they didn't. Like, people were still playing based on their tribes. Certain pink and green had an alliance going. I'm sure there were plenty of other
cross-tribe alliance.
Yeah, there were cross-tribe alliances going after the merge.
Cool.
So at least, so I was on pink, and at least like from my perspective or what I know, green approached us to form an alliance because I think we were 2 of the largest teams remaining. And so we were like, we have the numbers. And so let's ally together and try to protect our teams. There were rumors that green had formed other alliances with other tribes as well. I don't know if those are just rumors or if they're true or not, but
cross-tribe alliances.
Exactly. Yeah. So who knows how that played out, but that was definitely a thing that happened. Another thing with the Twitter connection. So first of all, going back to that, why did you guys decide to require the Twitter connection this season?
Well, I think, we try to basically like treat every season like its own social experiment, and it basically have its own theme. And season 2, the theme was a non-island, which made the Twitter connection optional, and players could play anonymously, and a non-player ultimately won. But it was never the plan to basically have a non-players every season. So we basically reverted back to Twitter connection for season 3, and kind of like who knows where it goes from here.
Gotcha. Yeah. Were you surprised to see how some people would, I don't know if you noticed this, like during the final minutes of voting, they would transfer their NFT to a new wallet so that they could initiate a new Twitter connection, so that, so cool. Like DDW Chen would show up as whatever fake name I wanted it to be. Were you expecting people to do that at all?
I never fully know what to expect. I didn't even expect last season that folks would transfer their NFTs to each other to like register scores. I think that requires like an insane amount of trust. And so,
Right.
what's nice about the fact that this game is on crypto rails is that there's just like basically unlimited game strategies and like social mechanics that people can do and think up. So, we always try to like lay out like a high level architecture for the quote unquote rules and like the high level version that people buy in for point one ETH. There's 10 days, there's 10 tribes, there's challenges every morning, and you vote people out each night. But other than that, it's kind of like up to the players to shape how it goes down. So I thought that was a very, very creative, unique to crypto strategy of like trying to hide from the vote.
Totally. Yeah. Other than that, compared to previous seasons, what would you say surprised you the most about how this season played out?
It seems like it was the most like either the most viral, the most active, or like the most players. And
Mm,
even though season two technically had more players, I think because we let people play anonymously, there were unique players that had like 4 or 5 NFTs,
right.
most of which were anonymously, and they were kind of just like having multiple entries. So I think this was like definitely the most played season by like unique individuals, which was really cool. And I don't know, it seems like a lot of the feedback was like best one yet, best season yet. Curious to get your take on it, but it seems like another fun season. And then yeah, the third is just basically we can get into this, but like how close the finale was.
Yeah.
Seasons one and two were pretty much landslides. Like the finale was never close. And yesterday, both Ted, who ultimately won, and Akil were basically like tied for the entire 4 hours of voting and like trading votes back and forth and flip flopping. And Ted ultimately won by a single vote, um, which is insane to think about how every vote counted. And yeah, I definitely was not expecting like a nail biter at the end.
Yeah, I wanna hear more of your thoughts on the finale and how it played out and why do you think like, what do you think it was about Akil's campaign? And we're gonna bring Akil on later as well. We're gonna have some of the finalists join us. We're also I'm just gonna tease this now since we're talking about this, we're also gonna have a surprise guest join us at the
Ooh,
end. So,
fun.
you might not be here by then, Dylan, but
No,
you'll get
I'll
to
be sure to
rewatch
watch.
this and
Yeah.
yeah, and you'll get to see it back, and I think it's gonna be someone that everyone is going to be excited to hear from whether they like this person or not, but I think
Cool.
they're going to be excited to hear from them.
I have a
But
thought on who it's going to be, but I won't ruin the surprise.
you can DM it to me if you want to have a guess. But yeah, the finale, like what do you think it was about Akil's campaign and Ted's campaign, which Ted didn't really have much of a campaign, right? She kind of just put out that video explaining what happened. And I'm guessing she did that because the biggest criticism towards her last season was that she was playing with all these player NFTs and maybe like couldn't be trusted or whatever. And so she basically just came full out and was as transparent as possible in that video. Do you think that's like what bought her the votes? Or like what positioned them, do you think, above everybody else?
Yeah, I mean, I just to like take a couple steps back for those listening that might not be familiar. Everyone basically votes people out for the first 9 nights. We started with 716 people, and after 9 nights, we whittled that down to 68. On day 10, which is the finale, which was yesterday, as of this recording, everyone that was previously eliminated comes back on and votes for the winner. So basically, over the last 24 to 48 hours, all 68 finalists were making the case that I played the best game, or this is what I would do with the money, which at current prices is about 150 grand. So it's not nothing. And each season, there's always a couple finalists that somehow break through the noise and kind of can get like the community rallying behind them. And from what I saw, um, as an outsider and kind of watching all the campaigns with the jury, Akil's strategy, which I'm curious to hear him explain, and he could definitely do a better job than me, was to kind of like break up the winning into two separate buckets, half of which he would basically like double the entry fee and pay back what everyone paid to play times two, which TBD if that's kosher or not. And then the with the second half of that, he was going to launch some sort of like builder fund or builder grant to um, basically like enable grants for up and coming crypto founders to help them build their on chain projects. And I think it was that in particular that really resonated with the community. And he definitely got a ton of like the builder vote. On the flip side, Ted, Ted Not Lasso on Twitter and Ted on Farcaster, um, she was the runner up in season two. And by all accounts, played like a very, very great game. Like she, I don't have a ton of visibility here, but in speaking with those that voted for her, each of the last two seasons to win, it sounds like she is like a great tribe mate, really good at the challenges, fully committed to the bit, like goes all out, like helps others, and just kind of like plays that like tribe mom. I don't know if you've shared a tribe with her, what your experience has been. But I think, she kind of just like won over the hearts of those that were on her tribe. And so what had happened this particular season is because the entry or the entries are NFTs, and they're not soul bound until you're eliminated. There was someone who made the finale, and I don't know who it was. It sounds like it was her, like season two, like her strongest alliance from
Yeah,
season
it was
two.
someone in my tribe, and she said she was like a good friend of Ted's.
Oh, cool. And I guess she felt as though she had no shot. She had, you know, she didn't think she could win. So, unbeknownst to Ted, she sent Ted the NFT, and I don't know, what their relationship is like or kind of like what they spoke about. It was basically like, you take this because you played this game so well, and you have a better chance of winning than I do, which is totally, in line with the rules. And the the whole point of this thing is that there has that kind of like deal or no deal mechanic where you could hypothetically sell or cash out at every single checkpoint throughout the season for more than you bought in for, which I really like. um, and that happened, and Ted was, who was previously eliminated, was basically like a surprise finalist. And yeah, I think she just opted for like transparency in that video, because I think there was a lot of like speculation and I don't know, folks were curious as to how someone who was previously eliminated was back in the finale. And maybe it was the honesty, maybe it was just, tribe mates that loved the way she played. And yeah, she kind of had like her Club Ted votes as well. So it was really neck and neck the entire time.
Yeah, so a few interesting points about that, and also people in the chat are saying they can't really hear you, so if you can try
Oh,
to speak up a little bit louder or
sorry.
something later. But
Maybe it's the headphones.
maybe it's the headphones here. I think you're just kind of like quieter on the choirs, or maybe I'm too loud. Maybe I need to turn myself
Oh,
down so that in comparison I'm okay.
honestly,
I turned my
I
mic
haven't
down a
done
little
for
bit,
10
so
days and it's still pouring out here.
I can
So
imagine.
I'm like,
Sorry, I should have started with saying how are you feeling? Are you okay?
I'm so tired. I don't know. These seasons are, I know they're intense for the players, but that's self-inflicted. You do not have to
Totally.
play this thing for 24/7. You can register a score and make an alliance and come back on that night to vote, and that was always my intention. Building it is 24/7.
You have no choice.
It's, you never know what's going to happen when it's live. We're constantly making changes and pushing fixes and responding to hundreds of support DMs and making sure everyone's enjoying the experience. And again, also I guess also self-inflicted because we chose to make this thing 10 days and live. But yeah, I don't know. The morning after the finale is probably not my best self.
No, totally, totally. And I remember seeing Eva tweet something yesterday about how it'd be cool to see a longer term
Oh
Crypto
my
the Game
God.
season, like
I
for
saw that
weeks
too.
or
I
months.
responded, my
And
marriage would crumble.
I know, I'm looking at that. Everyone in the comments is like, what are you talking about? Like, this is the worst idea. Can we actually make it shorter and not longer? I
Yeah,
think
I
everybody
just dug
was
up the
not into that.
original like write up, like the original memo I wrote for CTG. This is like November 2023, and initially it was 21 days.
Oh my gosh.
And that, you know, again, I had no idea people would go all out, and I think the challenges were definitely a bit more like easy and like mini game focused. But you know, in actually starting to build it, we were like, this is too much.
Yeah. No. A couple of interesting observations that I was going to say and follow up to what you just said was the first thing is it seemed like the Warpcast army was a lot stronger this season than past
Yeah.
seasons, where it almost felt like, at least in some tribes, that there was more of a Warpcast presence than a crypto Twitter presence. So the people that were, you know, big on Warpcast had a lot of friends, and those tribes had a lot of allies naturally just from being on Warpcast versus in past seasons, especially all the way back in season 1. I felt like it really was just like a crypto Twitter, very crypto native game. And the user base or the player base or whatever has, I feel like, really shifted over the last couple of seasons. The other interesting thing is with the way that Akil structured his thing, and maybe we'll just like save this for when Akil actually comes on. But I remember back in season 1, pot splitting was a big narrative at the finale.
Every season.
Every season, but season 1, I feel like it was like the vibe was no pot splitting, right? Like that was kind of the overall sentiment was we don't like pot splitting. And I feel like this season is the first time that pot splitting has come back really big and in more of a positive than a negative way. So that's also interesting for me to see, at least, how the people shift from season to season and the narratives shift from season to season and what works and what doesn't. Like if you just went on past seasons, you would think a pot splitting narrative would never win.
Yep.
Or at least that's what I would think.
Yeah, I'll kind of answer both comments. The first on the Warpcast Farcaster army, I think that just has to do with the fact that I personally have become a lot more active on there. I know, you know, season 1, I just kind of tweeted it out, and like crypto Twitter did its thing. And just in like the year plus since then, I've got increasingly more active on Farcaster. And so I was doing the same sneak peeks, the same DMs, the same basically posts both on my Twitter and my Farcaster account. And I think that probably just has a lot to do with that. Season 2, I think there was like a little Lens army as well, because I was, you know, posting a lot on Lens in advance of season 2. So it's really just about kind of like where I think we're marketing before entries go live. And then on the second point, I don't know that Akil would have come in second if he didn't mention the like builder grants and like what he would do with most of the money. I think if he had just said, you know, we're splitting the pot and everyone that votes for me is getting their, you know, fair share, I don't think he would have got as many votes. I think it was like the builder narrative that really drew people in. Yeah, I don't know. I still don't know if pure pot splitting is ever going to work. Because the, you know, the ethos of the game really is just that one person wins the whole thing.
Yeah, totally. I totally hear you on that. Bomik mentioned in the comments earlier too that Brian said he vibe coded New Breaker the night before, CTG Breaker the night before.
Yeah, I know.
And then
I woke up the morning of CTG Breaker and Brian was like, "What do you guys think of this?" And I was like, "Where did this come from?"
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
So what was the plan that day? Just to not have anything?
No, so we were going to so I think everyone knows that this CTG is very heavily inspired by Survivor, and something I think that Survivor has done really well is there are like iconic Survivor challenges that somehow make it into every season, and I thought it would be like a cool nod to season 2 to bring back Po-op Breaker kind of like as it was season 2. We still had the code. Everyone really liked it. It was like a Sunday challenge last time as well. It was kind of, it's like a pretty good lazy Sunday challenge. It works. And we were basically just going to like bring it back. And Brian completely rewrote it, reskinned it, redesigned it, rechanged it. And you know, I think it's a similar game, but it felt unique to this season.
Totally. Yeah. When I saw that, I was like, I was wondering too, how much of what you guys plan is pre-planned in advance versus a reaction to how you see the players playing. Cause I know you've been working on this game it's been almost a year since season 2. And so presumably for a long time, how much of that was like, no, when did you guys start working on season 3?
So we came up with the theme of Resurrection Island, I'd say like right after season two, and we we didn't actually start like hitting the ground and like going pencils down on season three until about a month ago. So
Okay. So
yeah,
everything happened within the last month.
yeah.
And then other than the breaker thing from this season, was there anything else that was a last minute add or a last minute change or anything like that?
We always like come up with the hidden immunities day of. Like we always knew which days we wanted to do them. It's basically the days without challenges because we want to make sure that everyone has a chance for immunity every day. Um, but yeah, it's always those mornings are always kind of like, okay, where should we hide the immunity?
Yeah.
But I would say almost all of the other days and challenges were pre-planned.
I thought I had also seen something about the choice being
Oh, the
proposed
choice was
by.
was not pre-planned. That's a good call as well. So initially, the plan was to do the swap, and then the next day just swap back. No choice. You swap back.
Okay.
We were about to ship it. It was the night before, and I think we're all just kind of like, that's a little boring. And Ty, the day before it went live, was like, what if we give them the choice? And it was just like immediate light bulb moment for all three of us. We're like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So we, they, again, kind of like built and shipped the choice overnight, which is so crazy.
Did they end up, or did you end up having to like change any other parts of the game after that because of how the tribes worked out after the choice? Like I think pink was the biggest one with over 60 people, and then blue only had 17 people. Like, was that something that was a surprise to you guys?
No, I think we were nervous about the edge case of like what it would do to the game if even though there was like a very 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 small chance of this happening, but like it would have been possible for like one tribe to just get no one, either like
Yeah.
just no one went back to it and everyone that was there left. We kind of assumed that that was like a very very low probability, or like if one person was allowed
Right.
back. But no, I thought it was cool. I think because Blue had only 17 people, they were able to successfully abstain, which wasn't a winning strategy. And I think they all got targeted right after the merge because of it. But, survive in advance, do what you have to do. And then, I think because Pink and Green had so many people, they were able to get more people into the finale. I think, Green had a ton of folks in the finale. It's one of those things where like your choice mattered a lot.
Humpty in the chat said, just read the source code, Diana. Which also brings up another point is everybody was looking at the source code. Was that meant to be an Easter egg for people to find, or
I don't think so. I mean, someone found the word choice in the like I don't know hundreds of thousands of lines of code before, so we switched. I think we switched the next day to Red Wedding just to like throw people off, even though there was nothing Red Wedding planned at all. So there are definitely like red
gotcha?
herrings within the source code. You were never able to find the hidden immunity or the answers to puzzles within the source code. Those are always pretty well hidden.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, another thing I wanted to ask you about is earlier before the season started, when you were on Rehash, you had teased a vote to save instead
Yeah,
of a vote to eliminate, and a
yeah,
lot of people were waiting for that to happen during the
yeah,
season, and it never did.
yeah. Yes. So we basically decided to hold that for next season. I think with resurrection and bringing people back and transferring NFTs, it's just like it started to feel like there were too many twists. And I also like we would have had to be so abundantly clear from the beginning, which we weren't outside of briefly chatting about it on this podcast,
Hmm.
that you were voting for people instead of voting against people. And I just kind of very quickly envisioned like a nightmare scenario where like people didn't read the copy, just cast their vote, and then like wanted to change
Totally.
it or regret it. And so if we do implement that next season, if there is a next season, then like we would just call it like I don't know, Save Island or what, we would be abundantly clear that that was a thing this season instead of assuming that people will read the copy.
Yeah, I remember someone in my tribe actually last season in season 2 made that mistake where they thought it was like the first night of voting or something, and they thought they were voting for who they
Oh.
wanted to keep. They had never played before, instead of who they wanted to vote off the island. And so that I could definitely see that confusion
Yeah, no
happening
one
now
reads
that
the
yeah.
copy.
Yeah,
Unless
yeah,
there's a
yeah, yeah.
typo. If we have a typo, it's all over crypto Twitter. If there's no typo, everyone's like, "Oh, I didn't read the copy."
Yeah, totally. Okay, a few more questions from the audience. So Humpty had a piece of feedback, which was that he would have loved to see a native Crypto the Game app instead of having it be on a website and then having on these Telegram groups and Google spreadsheets, like to have something more, everything happen within an app, all the games, all the puzzles, all the
Mhm.
chats, all the spreadsheets, everything. Is that something that you guys have thought about or is in the works?
I mean, I will say we're a team of three, one of which is a non-technical ideas guy, which is myself. So it's a pretty insane undertaking that basically two devs built the entire thing. And I think there are a ton of like complexities that come with creating an app and submitting it to the App Store. And it's definitely come up. The thing I'll say about everything else is like I had no idea and no plans to like enable the telegrams and spreadsheets. And again, that's all on you guys. Like that is so self-inflicted by the players. We spent before season one a really long time building the chat functionality on cryptothegame.com. I think it's really good and enables real-time chat with all of your tribe mates. It's basically token gated, and no one used it. Like literally no one in all three seasons, no one uses this amazing, beautiful real-time chat that we built. So I think we kind of all just like took that and was like, all right, why would we build this, this other thing if like everyone's just going to take it off the platform anyway? Um, so the funniest thing is like I hate Telegram, I hate Google Sheets, I hate spreadsheets, I hate uh, I don't know, hopping on Zooms, like, and it's just so funny to see that that's kind of like what the game has turned into from like a strategy standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was happy to see some Web3 elements introduced after the tribes were, after the choice happened, where instead of just like people spinning up Telegram groups, they were at least token gating it with
Oh,
Guild or
cool.
Collabland or something
Nice.
so that, you could verify that people actually held the token if they said, instead of just saying, oh, yeah, I totally like I chose to
Yeah.
go back to blue or to
Yeah.
whatever, that they
Yeah.
actually had it. So that was cool to see. Um, DeFi Beat says, "Hey Dylan, how about a Crypto the Game All Star season?"
Yeah, I know. DeFi Beats keeps tweeting this. I like every tweet. I love the idea. I think that's so fun. I would love to do All Stars one year. I think in order to do All Stars well, I think we really need to nail down the spectator view, to just like basically like create a world in which everyone who's not an All Star can follow along and watch and engage. And I'll be the first to admit that we haven't quite nailed the spectator view just yet, but
Yeah,
I would love to do All Stars. I'm so grateful and like happy that we're even in a place where there are All Stars that have played season after
totally.
season.
Totally. How would you define an All Star in Crypto the Game?
I don't know. I think it's someone that comes back each season, someone that does well each season. I have a few friends that play each season and somehow get voted out night one, night two every time. They're just like not in it to win it. I think someone like yourself, someone like DeFi Beats, someone that somehow is always makes it to the merge, is like proves that this thing is a game of skill, and we would have to come up with some sort of like player score to basically determine it. But I haven't put too much thought into the All Star season. But I think every good reality show has a great All Star season, so we got to do it.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Bomik in the chat says, "How was it collabing with Uniswap Labs? Any specific expectations or goals you had for the season?"
Yeah, it was great. I mean, we CTG was acquired by Uniswap Labs after season two. So Brian, Ty, and I are all technically Uniswap employees. We were completely free to do what we wanted this season. As long as it was like legal, and which everything was, and buttoned up. We built it on Unichain. I think that was an important like go to market moment for the L2. But I have nothing but like the most amazing things to say about the Uniswap Labs team, and they were all super supportive of like us continuing to do what we do best.
Okay, awesome. Last question for you, and I'll let you go and bring on the players. This is, I guess, a two-part question. The first part is from Diana on Twitter, D_centralized on
Yep.
Twitter. She said, if you could have done one thing differently, what would it have been? And then I kind of want to follow that up and say, what would you change in the game for next season?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know that I would have done anything differently. I think it was a great season. Like we had, like there was like relatively zero like true drama. Everyone seemed to have fun. I mean, I still would love to figure out a way to make it more time zone friendly. Like I think we have so many global players, a lot of folks in Europe, a lot of folks in Asia, and like the unfortunate downside of running something that's truly live and interactive is like you can't delay voting, you can't
Right.
recast your votes, you can't do anything like that. So I don't know if that means eventually looking into, you know, country specific versions of the game with local languages or having it be this one hero season each time. Um, I don't know if that's something I could have done differently, but it's something that's always on my mind. I feel so bad when people are casting their votes in the middle of the night and
Yeah.
having to play challenges right when they wake up. But you know, at the same time, even stateside folks are annoyed because voting's during dinner time or voting's during, you know, bedtime for their kids, and there's really no easy way to make something global truly live.
Yeah. Yeah,
Sorry, what was the
totally.
second point?
It was just, what would you change about next season?
Oh, I definitely want to do the vote to save mechanic for sure. I think that's so fun, and I think that would be a lot easier for, you know, players like yourself to make it through. But at the end of the day, it's like I get DMs from folks saying, "Oh, you know, not enough people were eliminated tonight, or there were too many finalists, or you know,
Yeah,
this was a very hard challenge." And it's like this, my POV there is like it should be very hard to win this game. There are hundreds of people playing, only one winner. We've given away hundreds of thousands of dollars over 3 seasons. Um, it should be really hard, and it's ultimately hard on us as well to whittle the field down from 716 to one
totally.
over. It's basically eight. Uh, I think it might even be 7 voting periods technically, because the first one is like pretty much everyone's immune, and there's also a touch
Right.
grass day, and day 10's the finale. So you have to go
Right,
from
right, right.
716 to basically one over 7 elimination nights. So you know,
I did
there's
notice though that this season the number of people cut down from night to night was a lot less than last season. And especially with the finale, I mean, I don't know how the numbers work out night like exactly night to night, but at least in the finale, in past seasons it seems like about 5% of the players make it to the finale. I think it was
mhm.
like season 1 there were like 400 some players and 20ish made it to the finale. Season 2 was like
Yeah.
800 players, 40ish made it to the finale. This season, 68 made it to the finale. Was that like intentional, or I just noticed like every night there were kind of more people making it to the next round compared to last season?
I don't think it was intentional. I think it's like, you know, Blue Tribe abstain. No, I'm just kidding. So I think we we didn't do a weekend post merge. Like we didn't do a touch grass day last season this late in the game, and I think that might have had something to do with it. There was the whole Adidas challenge last year
Yeah,
that kind of turned into a touch grass day, and because of that, we had to make up for it with like voting rounds later on, which I think cut it down a bit more towards the end. But I'm always happy with like a double digit finale number. Um, you know, there were over 300 people that made it to the merge, and there's really no exact science on like how we whittle the field down, because there could be ties,
yeah,
there could be abstains, there could be any which way in which folks cast their vote. As long as there's one winner
totally.
at the end, that's all that matters.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. Okay. I will actually, before I let you go, I'm gonna let you ask me one question if you have anything that you
Oh,
want to
I
ask me
just
as
want
a
to know
player. So
how you felt about the season. I mentioned that a lot of folks said it was the best season yet, but as someone that's played all three, like curious to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's like what I was alluding to earlier too. Like I think every season is just so different because you have a different player pool, you have,
Yeah.
you know, different market sentiment, especially from last season to this season. The market sentiment is like completely different because a year has passed versus between season 1 and season 2, there were only like 2 or 3 months past, and so the market part was pretty much the same and the player pool as well. So this season I just thought like one of the things that stood out to me, I guess, was that there were much like way fewer cabals, it seemed like. Last season, I remember when we hit the merge on day 8, it was like there were like so many side chats. Like I just could not. It, like every 5 minutes I was getting added to a new cabal. And I just like couldn't even keep up. And this season it was so quiet. And maybe it's just me, maybe just like no one wanted me in their cabal, but from the people I've talked to, it seems like a lot of people were in similar boats. Like they had maybe like 1 or 2 side chats going, mostly within their tribal alliances. And then outside of that, it was like people were just staying super quiet. So I'm not really sure what that's about. If people were maybe following the strategy of like lay low as much as possible, avoid detection.
Yeah.
And so nobody wanted to initiate the cabal chats or anything like that. Which is why too, like the finalists that I've found to bring on after this are people that I think played a really strong game and not like a scared game. Like they weren't just hiding in the shadows trying to avoid detection. They actually they were admins of the spreadsheets, you know, like they were leaders of their tribes. They played the game as best as they could and they still made it to the final. And so I'm like super curious to talk to people like that about how they were able to do that and still make it all the way, because it seems like those people get targeted super easily.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to listen. I think folks realize in season 2 that if you do, make too much noise, you're all of a sudden considered a target or a threat. And I even noticed that myself with the Boys Club companion show. Like folks, last season they had a guest every episode, and
Right.
they probably
This
got a
season,
full team
everyone
the
was
next day.
scared.
Everyone this season, whether you were abstaining from votes or not creating cabals, or I don't have a ton of visibility into the telegrams, but it seemed like almost everyone was playing not to lose instead of playing to
Yeah,
win.
exactly. Yeah, so true. I agree with that. Well, thank you so much, Dylan, for coming on. I'm going to let you go and then bring the players on. You can, of course, feel free to hang around if you want, or feel free to drop, but I'm going to start letting the players
pop into the chat, but I'll
perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, Dylan. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Cool. Talk soon.
GM Bert. Oh my God. Okay, everybody. So thank you again to Dylan for joining us and for sharing all the back end secrets with us and recapping the season with us. I'm so happy to have all the players on. You guys are all live now. Bomik, Akil, ZeroX Designer, Bert, of course. I think we're missing Jake, who I saw in the chat. So Jake, if you're there, come hop into the Riverside link now so we can see you on screen. We'll do some quick intros.
What tribe was Bert on?
Bert, I believe, was on red. Is that right? I'm not actually quite sure how this is going to work with Bert, if Bert is planning on speaking at all or kind of just here for the vibes and the bones and stuff. Or I know Bert mentioned having a human assistant. There's a mic. He's mic'd up. Bert. So Bert, if you would like to answer the question about which tribe you were on, I want to say you were on red. You can blink twice if that's correct.
Bert has his human assistant on the line.
Oh,
Hopefully
wonderful.
You can hear me.
Yes, I can. Nice to meet you.
Yes. So we did a debrief last night and he, made sure to share all of his experiences and feelings that I can relay. Hopefully he doesn't fall asleep. We'll see. Yes, he was on silver to start and then red and stayed red.
Okay, I love it. Thank you so much for joining us and for scheduling this with Bert. I know he's a really busy guy, so really appreciate you guys both taking the time. So cute. We'll try not to be too distracted. Oh, and there's cheese happening. Okay. Jake is here. Jake and Hannah, welcome. Welcome, everybody. So we have Akil with us, who was the runner up yesterday, lost by only one vote. Super, super tragic. It was like we were talking with Dylan earlier, like this has never happened in past seasons where it's been so close before. And then we have Bomik, who ended up in third place, also made an excellent showing. And then we have Jake and Hannah, who Jake and Hannah are both big parts of the rehash community, huge rehash community members. And I had no idea that Jake was playing Crypto the Game at all. Like we're like in the same chats together and everything. Like no indication whatsoever that Jake was playing until the finals. He like DMs me first and he goes, "So who are you gonna have on your live stream tomorrow, like out of the players?" And I was like, "No, I don't know yet. Still trying to figure that out. Why? Who do you want to hear?" And he just goes, what if? And I was like, no, shut up. There's no way. And then he sends me the thread he wrote on Twitter. And I was like, there is just no way. This is insane. So anyway, I want to hear everybody's experiences. Xerox Designer, obviously, you've heard on Rehash in the past. And I heard a rumor actually about Dylan might have outed you, Xerox Designer, about having an alt that made it to the finals. Can you just confirm or deny that right off the bat?
No.
No, you didn't have an alt, or no, you cannot confirm or deny?
No, I cannot confirm or deny.
Okay, fair enough. Well, Xerox Designer was part of the famous Blue Tribe that pulled off 2 abstains 2 nights in a row, which is super incredible. So where should I start? Let me start with, I'm going to start with Akil since you finished second. And tell us about what your strategy in the game was and sort of like how are you feeling?
Hey, hi everyone. This is Akhil. Yeah, it was pretty intense, tough luck I would say, but it was definitely like Nile waiting. I was just checking my Whoop stress levels last night. It was intense, uh, but largely the strategy was, hey, okay, I'm I'm like a okay new voice on CT. How do I bring attention to the final rate? So my strategy for the entire game was okay, keep it clean. I've just played for survival, haven't backstabbed anyone, just kept it low key, managed to get through the finals, and then okay, thought this is my opportunity to just like shine, and then figured how do I convince everyone to kind of vote me so that there's no there's no like charity in there, or also it's not like purely like a splitting the pot game. So I thought, okay, let me create a balance between, hey, I'm a builder myself, and then I thought, how do I maybe I would start like a build of fund with the prize money that I would get, and then figured, okay, maybe let me also create some value where whoever votes me get their initials back, not just initials, why not 2x of their initials, and rest of the money I thought I would just use it to support fellow builders. Yeah,
Yeah.
that really helped, I would say.
I think people loved the builder piece, supporting other builders. I think that most of the people that rallied behind you were people that were like super into supporting builders. So I think that was definitely a smart campaign to run on, and obviously just like a very generous thing for you to do. Not that like I think anyone. Okay, so here's another question for you guys: is do you think that it that people in the finals should be running their campaign based on how well of a game they played or how they're going to spend the money if they win? You guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think that's like the big question because I I'm opinionated obviously because I didn't have any ideas of what I was gonna do with the money. But like regardless of what we individually think, it just up to human emotion. Like even Ted, she played an amazing game, but a big part of her narrative was like her prior performance in season 2. And so even if like we think it should be only what happens between day 1 and 10, humans are emotional. Humans make decisions based off whatever they think is a cool narrative. So to regardless of like if it should be game, I feel like you can't really control that. So the people who focused on gameplay and their narrative, like which I did, we did the best we could, but it's tough to like fight like an amazing like the builder thing you did, or Ted's like great reputation she's built like in the game.
Yeah, totally. I'm gonna go off of that and ask you, Bomik, to share a little bit about your strategy, because I know you were a leader in your tribe and were you in green the whole time or just at the end?
Yeah, I was in green and then I got swapped to blue.
Oh, to blue. Okay.
All 8 green that swapped to blue, yeah, came back except Xerix Designer, which ended up probably being a great
Ooh.
strategy for him based on his threat. So yeah, we came back. I was very visible doing the spreadsheets, like helping with the challenges, posting announcements. You asked like how the visible, like how I was able to at least make it, because most spreadsheet people got cut like pretty early.
Yeah.
I would basically have other people in the tribe like picking the actual voting assignments, so that once like it never got to me that I picked that voting number. I did that on the first day where I picked the voting assignments because it was just inactives. And then day 2, I had a vote, and so did Ted. So as soon as that happened, I just stopped picking the actual voting assignments and would just like say, I'm just the messenger. I'm just posting the sheet. And then later in the week, when I started noticing like people are finding out who we're voting for, I just started deleting the sheets. I was like, nothing can go back to me. OPSEC. People would ask me like, wait, what did we vote for yesterday? Like, I don't know. The sheet's gone. So that's like a little bit of like
Amazing.
having to protect the high visibility.
Amazing. Xerox Designer, you got called out for being the only green that stayed on blue. Why did you decide to stay on blue when seemingly, and from what I heard, the vibes on blue weren't super fantastic, and it sounds like the vibes on green were? Why did you decide to stay on blue?
Because I actually knew the group was going to be small, and I wanted to play on a smaller tribe. Like I was asking around. There was I documented this temporarily. The thread I posted yesterday, I ended up deleting. But I had a friendly face, and I knew it was going to be a smaller tribe, and I knew that that was going to be easier to coordinate. Like what I didn't think about was how much harder it was going to be to complete the puzzles with a smaller
Yeah.
group. But yeah, because like part of the strategy for the first half of the game every season, because I too also played all 3 seasons, is like you just kind of have to like duck and do the bare minimum to get by. If you do too much, you're a target, and if you do nothing at all, you're an easy target.
Yeah.
And so I just thought the game would be more fun if it was a smaller group where people were kind of forced to be more active.
Totally. Were you ever worried about, like, you guys had 17 people, say you have to vote out 15 or 20 people tonight. Like, what if you couldn't pull off an abstain? Then the whole tribe is wiped out.
Well, okay, so but people keep asking me like, how did you guys pull it off? And there's like a bunch of different explanations. Like I can give you mine. I'm sure everyone else in the tribe had their own reasons for abstaining. But I think the most interesting way to think about this is I'm going to pose that question to you, Diana, is like, what would you have done if you're in a group of 17 people? Every other tribe has 70 people. And like, just think through that out loud. What would you do?
Totally. I mean, the logical thing to do, obviously, is to abstain, right? That is the logical thing to do. You have 17 people, 15 and 20 people get voted off. Like, you should, even if 5 people get voted off, like, you should absolutely abstain. But we all know that the way people play this game isn't based off of logic all the time. So I think it's really dependent on who is in that tribe. And I was actually kicking myself a little bit because I was originally on blue, and then I got swapped to pink, and then I chose to stay on pink. But I was really debating that decision up until the last minutes, whether to stay on pink or go back to blue. And I was kicking myself after, because once all the choices were locked in, I saw the list of people on blue, and I was like, I'm friends with 75% of these people, like, outside of this game.
Yeah,
I'm actually friends with these people. And I was like, why did I not go back to blue? Like, I would feel so safe there. So
okay,
I think
ironically, everyone, I'm sure like many of the people you're thinking about that are your friends were also mine. So I was pleasantly surprised to see that I had a lot of familiar faces and friends and people that I had like genuine relationships with. But none of that was coordinated. Like nobody discussed, nobody planned. It just like everyone's just kind of lazy playing and ended up in the same place. And
Yeah, you guys had no strategy whatsoever.
At all. Well, okay, so just some context. Like the thread that I posted yesterday, which is now deleted, so you can't dig that up. But that was meant to be like a last ditch effort to create a narrative that was like counter Ted. Because Ted is organized, disciplined, committed. She's like everything's airtight with Ted. She's like a good player. And like the other pitches were either like how to spend the money. Akil did an incredible job of like incentivizing people. And it was like, all right, what's the gap in the like emotional landscape here? Like what story can we tell that isn't being told that could stand out? Because I was participating in a pact that we had decided on the Blue Tribe after the second night. And it remains to be seen whether that pact was still intact by the end of the game. Like even if Harsh won, like I really don't know what would have happened. Like this has just been like trust the whole way. But I kind of wanted to give him a boost, and part of that narrative was to be like, okay, well, will people resonate? Like there's enough players that were playing this way where could that story resonate? Where I was like just leaning really hard into like the apathetic approach, just like playing casually. And is that something that could stand out? It turned out that it didn't, because I just got a bunch of DMs and replies of people like, okay, well, you definitely don't deserve to win as a result of this. But
why did you delete it, by the way? Bomik is asking in the chat. I'm also curious.
I deleted it because I thought part of the storytelling style was humor and self-deprecation. And I checked with everyone on the group of like, hey, is it okay if I say this? Is it okay if I post a screenshot? There were some where like I didn't ask for permission, and it just felt like really self-deprecating at the expense of myself and other people who who gave me permission to talk that way. But I didn't want that to be like a persistent thing where I'm just like describing all of us together as like a clown car, you know. But that was like part of the narrative, and it was like a last ditch effort. If it worked, then we keep it. If it doesn't work, then it's whatever. I'll just delete it. I don't want that humor at the expense of other people.
Totally. No, that makes sense. I have to ask you one more thing about Blue Tribe. Is what did you think of the anonymous guy Zordan Zamora, aka Last to Fall?
Oh, it was scary.
What are your thoughts? Say more.
I wasn't sure if it was a plant, if it was a spy, and also nobody checked, and I didn't check until the last night of like, who is everybody? You know, it was just kind of like the vibes are good in this chat. Everyone's getting along,
I was gonna say
everyone's active and engaged. And then at the end, I was like, if this player wins, like, there's no accountability here.
I was gonna say, like, I wonder if that speaks more to the high level of trust within your tribe or the low level of effort and coordination. That no one thought to investigate who this anonymous person is. But I will tell you that Zordan Zamora, or Last to Fall, is actually my IRL friend. We've been friends for like well over a decade. He's not in crypto whatsoever. I was on a trip with him and a bunch of our friends last season when the game was going on, and they all saw me playing crypto the game all the time. And so I basically like pilled them on it. And then this season he ended up playing, but he didn't want to, he didn't want to be doxxed or anything because he's not like in crypto. He's not like a degen or anything.
If like all he said was I'm Diana Chen's friend, that would have changed the entire strategy. That would have changed everything.
How would it have changed things?
Because there was no question. So the Blue Tribe made a pact. If we get to the end, everyone's going to like pile in and support and just like broadcast this person. We're gonna create a campaign together, and then we're gonna push it out together. And it was just like a no-brainer. Like nobody knows who this person is, and nobody knows like the integrity of this person. But like Harsh is an active Twitter like participant.
Right.
Like I think more people, it would have been more of a question of like, who do we create a campaign around?
Yeah. Well, now
Harsh
you know.
did great though. Harsh did a great job, but that's
Yeah.
crazy because I mean that would have definitely like I think given people more energy because the pact was made before the second night of abstinence as an incentive to like try to do it again.
Oh, okay.
As more people got voted off, like the energy in the group like dissipated, as you can imagine.
Totally.
Like that's to be
Yeah.
expected. Like people get voted off, they're like, okay, I don't really care to play anymore. And so we kind of lost that energy. But I don't know, maybe that would have been invigorating if I mean that could have been a good story to tell too. This isn't a crypto person. You know, there's like just a lot more ideas.
I
A lot more stuff to
know.
work with.
I think he just I know. I think he just really didn't want to like be doxxed and, you know, he could because he's like not in crypto and doesn't understand the crypto culture and stuff. So I think it was scary for him.
I think that would have played in his favor. Even
I
without
totally agree. I totally agree. Yeah. No, I totally agree.
I gotta jump. Thank you
Yeah,
much.
I know
Thank
you've
you so
got to
much
jump.
for
Yeah,
having
thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you soon. I'm gonna jump over to Bert because I have a sense that Bert is getting restless. Bert's starting to type in the chat. Bert's jumping around. So Bert, I would like to hear about your experience as the first dog ever to play Crypto the game. And not only did you play Bert, but you made it all the way to night 8, right? Before you were eliminated. So you did a really good job. So I'm curious.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just curious what the experience was playing as a dog.
Well, he had the best time, first of all.
Love it.
Hold on, let's see.
Good job, Bert. Go back in your donut.
He says that he's not really, you know, big on crypto. He doesn't really know what he's doing at all. He's
That's
been
fine.
on Warpcast for like a little over a month. And I think as Adrian put it well, that he's just kind of speed running crypto, which included buying a very, very, very last minute NFT. He was player 716.
Wow.
And just kind of said, you know what, we're going to do it. He does have access to his parents' Rainbow wallet. But he also, you know, has made a good amount on Warpcash rewards. So I think he's earned it. Yeah, the experience was great. His tribes were insane, he says. But met a lot of great humans, a lot of new friends. Unfortunately, no other dogs. He's gonna campaign for that next year. And he thinks that he obviously got sniped on day 8 because no one would have wanted to compete with him in the final.
That's fair. That's so fair. I'm curious,
so yeah.
was he were you speaking on his behalf in the chats to the other humans, or was he mostly kind of there for the vibes and just letting out a little bark here or there?
No, he's really good at typing, actually. So he really just doesn't have vocal English.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you follow him on Warpcast or Farcaster, you'll see he's great with the typing. Every once in a while, the paws get tired. They're very delicate because he's a puppy.
Totally.
So he'll have one of his 2 personal assistants type for him. But yeah, no, he was in those Telegram chats. He was in those, alliances. I think sometimes it took a little bit for people to realize that he was a dog. But then he'd, talk about typing with paws, or like pinball was pretty challenging for him to play, just because he doesn't have the, right-left coordination down.
True.
Whereas Blockbreaker, he was like the second to get 250 in his tribe because, one button on the trackpad was really easy for him.
Right.
So, just the like accessibility issues. We'll talk to Dylan about it.
True. Yeah. I heard some other people
is colorblind a little bit.
Yes. I heard someone have that feedback too, that the immunity challenge with like the circles in order that was not very colorblind friendly, and obviously dogs don't see color super well, so that's
Exactly.
also an issue. Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
challenging.
Yeah.
That was, if it wasn't for that, he would have totally scored immunity, no problem.
All things considered, though, I have to say seems like Bert did extremely well. And I have to tell you, I actually thought about coming on the season as my dog Toby as well, because I had 2 whitelist spots. And so I thought about using one of the NFTs as Toby. But the problem is, because everyone knows that I'm the face behind Toby, I'm the momager behind Toby, everyone would have known who they were talking to. It works for Bert because no one knows who the face behind Bert is. So Bert is just Bert.
It's true. Yes, he's yet to dox his parents.
That's good.
We'll see. We'll see as that goes on. He has some connections in the crypto community. We'll say that. But it's not his parents.
Yeah, there needs to be a pet cabal, Akil says. I totally agree. Maybe next season, Bert can convince Toby to play, and then who else? Was it Bomik or Akil's cat can play as well? And we'll just have a whole animal cabal to the end. I'm bullish. Okay, I'm going to jump over to Jake real quick, and then we have a surprise guest who's still in the waiting room waiting to come on, and so I want to let them in. But real quick, Jake and Hannah. Jake, when did you decide to snag an NFT and join the game, and how and why did you decide to keep so silent about who you were the whole time? We can't hear you, by the way.
By the way,
Nope.
Jake and I were in the same tribe, Aqua.
Oh, you guys were in the beginning or at the end?
Yeah. No, I was in. I think we were both in Aqua all the time. Like we never really got a chance to move tribes.
Did you
When the
know who
first
Jake
swap happened,
was?
I ended up being in Aqua, and then yeah, no. So I kind of pinged him at the last, saying, "What is your campaign? Like, what are you planning?" He just texted me, "You will see," and then I was just like, "Okay."
So secretive. Okay, they're gonna come right back. So I think what I'm gonna do is, also people are telling you, Akil, to speak up a little louder if you can. But what I'm gonna do is I am going to, while Jake figures out his sound, I'm going to let in our special guest. So, if you all are ready. Akil, it says that you've stopped your recording. Hopefully you're still going. Let's see. Akil, I might need you to, yeah, okay, he's doing that. Okay, Jake and Hannah are back in. Is your sound working, Jake? Yes. Okay. So we'll talk to you before we let our guest, our secret last guest in. But yeah, tell us about what your thinking and your strategy was.
Yeah, so we actually minted it pretty early. It was part of the rehash. Dylan put it in to get a whitelist spot. So we did it part of the early bird. And yeah, I was just more doing it for fun as a study of being kind of being the mindset of a newbie to crypto and trying to do it as a newbie. So I even in the first day creating the Telegram account and the Warpcast account, all that came along with it, all that work that kind of went into creating the new profiles. But yeah, and it just kind of spiraled. I did the perfect game almost, because I was kind of stayed low but still helped out where needed, helped out on the puzzles, and was one of the admins of some of the spreadsheets. And yeah, Akil was in my Aqua tribe, which was pretty wild because we have some DMs from my alt account, and also Jay from Privy was also in my tribe, and I actually helped her with her block breaker. So our alts interacted, which is a pretty wild story in itself. Yeah.
I love that. Love the helping out with games and such too. Was it hard for you to keep your identity secret? Like when you would see your friends in the chat, would you like want to reveal who you are and be like, "Hey, we're friends"?
Yeah, I actually had a funny moment with Brent Skiat on Twitter, the white fluffy dog. I actually used one of his stickers that he like has his gatekeeper stickers, and like he like DM'd me and is like, "How did you use my sticker like on my alt account?" And we have these funny moments where like I'd interact with people that I knew from Twitter and stuff, and I just had to lay low. Like people were asking me, like George Benton, who got one of the immunities in one of the rounds. He actually messaged me like, "Are you playing? Like, you should buy in." And I was like, "No, I'm not playing. I don't want to play." And but in the reality, I was actually playing the whole time. It was quite fun, yeah.
That's
Obviously,
so
Hannah helped
funny.
out a lot as well. She helped me do the
Yeah.
Brent sticker,
Yeah.
and she was helping me craft the personality that I was. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
I would say it was easier for you to like lay low
Yeah,
because I'm too nosy.
Yeah.
Like I want to text my friends and I'm like, okay, how's the challenge going? And they're like, are you playing? And I'm like, no. And like, it was just hard to keep it as a secret.
No, I can totally imagine. I would have had a really hard time. I actually was playing as myself in an alt as well, and it was hard as my alt whenever I would, see friends, like my real friends, to not be like, "Oh my god, like we're friends," and have to like pretend to and start over and form like a new friendship with them. But the other thing, what was the other thing I was gonna ask? Oh yeah, I was gonna say you mentioned Brent that you like stole the sticker from or whatever. He was actually in a side cabal chat that I was part of, and so they were talking about like the fish thing, the in Brick Breaker, like the fish thing that you did, which I still don't know what that is. You just like coded a fish to be
No,
in the game.
no, it's a spinny fish on Telegram. It's just a spinny fish sticker, and like Brent had it like in an old pack, and the pack got deleted, but he still has access to it. And
Oh,
Hannah found a
gotcha.
way of like sending the sticker, and not many people know the way to send the sticker, and yeah, it's like a hidden Easter egg of
He
Brent's
still
lore.
doesn't know.
Yeah, Brent doesn't know. We're not gonna tell him.
Yeah, he was asking about it. He was like, "How did you do that?" Whatever, and I was like, "I don't know." Okay, I also want to get some more tea and stuff from you guys, but I'm gonna let in our special guest first. They've been waiting super patiently. And so welcome Net Dragon Zero X, aka King Wilbert. Is that you, King?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Whoa, the king himself.
Some would say it is, yeah.
Sorry for making you wait so long,
I don't know
but
if it was
welcome.
fully proven, but
It's right. So sometimes when people declare themselves to be the king, people are like, that's how you know they're not the king. So what do you have to say to that?
yep. Will we ever know for sure? I don't know. It's just
Tell us
no,
the
it
lore.
was-
Tell us the lore of
I
King
was King
Wilbert.
Oh man. All right. Well, I was not Wilbert in season 1. I think most people would know that, obviously. And that was just plain old Wilbert. But back in season 2, when King Wilbert rose to power, I guess kind of the backstory with him is that he was always shooting to make the game, I would say, more fair. And that was kind of his tagline was, fair and just king or whatever. So season 2 was heavy into collecting meta on all the different players. So if you were a coworker with someone else in the game, searching all the Twitter accounts, like figuring out who is a brother to someone else or a sister, family relationships, blood relatives, whatever. Heavy focus on meta because those are natural alliances. You will, piss off your coworker if you voted them out. So it was definitely something where his focus was if there is a group of people who work at the same company, they are going to like be together in a group, even if they don't say they are. There's just natural tendencies to keep your coworkers alive, right? So that was a heavy focus with season 2. Season 3, I did not have. I have 4 kids. I don't have as much time to collect, up to minute data on all the players as I did that time. Just kind of had to figure it out as it went. I wasn't even sure if he was going to, come back this season or not. But really, it's kind of, I think his focus with targeting every season has always been focusing on those natural alliances, but also targeting, I guess targeting, I call them cabals, for narrative reasons, but just targeting groups of people where they might actually have an advantage over other people. And I know people might say like, "Oh, you're always targeting women." I have 3 daughters. It's not what I'm doing. It's really like when you have something like the boys club, uh, you know, um, and I had Kate on Silver Tribe, and like I love Silver Tribe. We were great. And when I am myself, I'm 100% myself. But King Wilbert's role, right, is to say like, okay, well, boys club is sponsored by the game, like sponsored by whatever. They have access to a platform that is paid for by the game, or like there's privy employees, there's Uniswap employees, all of these. If I was a privy employee, I would have access potentially. I don't know for sure. I don't do OPSEC or DevOps over there, but access to data logs. I could get inside information. So I think it's like that whole idea of King Wilbur is to level the playing field for the players who don't have that access, right? And whether or not access will ever actually used, it's kind of just a narrative that I wanted to go with. And that was, what kind of led to all the drama.
Yeah. Yeah. You sure stirred up some shit, as they'd say. I mean, it's interesting to hear the story. It's interesting to hear like the motivation behind it, because from the outset, like without hearing your story, it does just seem like you're there to stir up shit and target the big players. But it's interesting to hear where that motivation actually came from.
He is an agent of chaos. Yeah.
Totally. But Meek says, who sent you the Green Tribe spreadsheet?
It's also
yes. I want to know that as well. Who sent you the Green Tribe spreadsheet?
I have so many sheets. You know what? Anything that happens in my DMs, I try to protect my DMs, because there is potential future seasons. Not with King Wilbert, but just that trust of, King Wilbert never, I would say he never exposed people who had gained his protection. Protection was a key element of King Wilbert. I would say that season 2, King Wilbert was Joffrey from Game of Thrones. Just destroy everyone, target the cabals, very outspoken. This season, he was Littlefinger, right? He was manipulating with DMs. Everything was happening in the DMs. If people felt fear, panic, they would reach out. They would be like, how do I get this protection, right? And that's when they would do little favors for me. They would target their leaders in their tribe. They would tell me who their leaders in their tribe were. And it was honestly, I wish everyone would just take their game to the next level like this. It is so much fun. Like, it is the most fun you could possibly have. Obviously people work and, it is an extra amount of time to do this, but playing a character like this, really, it's a blast, honestly. It's just like a blast.
I'm noticing that Bert seems very eager right now. Like he was really dialed into what you were saying, and it seems like he's like feeling a little sus about you. And I get the sense that what he wants to ask is maybe if there were a pet cabal, because we were talking about that earlier, if enough pets played Crypto the game and there ended up being a pet cabal that ended up being the most powerful group, like more powerful than Uniswap or Privy or Boys Club or anything, would King Wilbert go so low as to target the dogs?
You know what? The way that I would do targeting is I would not. Early game is different than late game. Early game for me is you never target the entire alliance. You find an alliance, and if there are 2 people in the alliance or 3 people, you target one of them, right? You weaken early. I would only take out one of the dogs early, right? But late game, especially this season, late game is when you have to kind of go, all right, how much power has he accumulated this time? And then it's just a question of like, if the pets were like the Green Cabal, right? Or not the Green Cabal, but the Green Tribe, Pink Tribe, super strong, good coordination. They did a great job of organizing. But end game is when you start focusing on, what, we need to ally all of the other tribes against these 2 tribes. So like this season, it was I said when Green, I forget the exact timing of it, but Green came out and I came out full support, and I said I love Green Tribe, full support, Green forever, whatever. The entire point of that was not cope; it was to give everyone else a target.
Yeah,
And
I
once
thought
everyone was
about
aligned, that
when you posted that, we all thought about replying and just saying "fuck off, Willie" from Green. We were just like, "Don't make ourselves a target."
Oh, you know what? I only really would like make people targets, not if they like, because a lot of people would just like say whatever they wanted about them. Really, if it was like you seem like a threat or you were already on my mind or whatever, then I would target it. But I think the most fun part of this whole thing was I had a private chat with 3 guys, and again, my goal in these tribes as myself is to 100% organize, run the votes, don't force leadership, but just do what I can. Um, make sure everyone feels safe and with order, and there's a plan. Repeat the plan, especially an hour is a very long time for these elimination votes. So everyone has to feel safe the entire time. And we did a really good job of that. Everyone I worked with, like I was 100% when I was on Blue Tribe in the beginning, working with my buddy, and we just kept everything organized, nothing nefarious, right? It was just, and then on Silver, we were great. We had great vibes all the way to the end. Um, and I've really, the main thing I was doing was protecting my tribe from outward, external moles coming in. Like we had, like I usually own the sheets, and then people would come in and say, "Oh, let's guild it and whatever," but I need to take ownership, and I would, try to protect my tribe and be like, you know what, guys, like giving this guy a lot of power here. I don't trust him, right? I can only trust myself. But in the end, we had a good group of leaders in Silver, and at one point, I'm not going to drop names, right? Future games, but one of
Drop
our guys
them.
was saying that he had reached out to King Wilbert, and that King, I'm not dropping him unless he wants to say it in the chat, but he was worried that he was on a hit list for King Wilbert, and he comes back and he says, "I think we need to get King Wilbert to protect us, but I can't do it. I think I'm on his list." And he said, "Net Dragon, dude, can you reach out to him because just see what he wants? Like, who is on his list? Let's try to figure this out. We should try to get some protection." And I'm just like, oh my God. Hell yeah, dude. All right. So I reach out to him, which is myself. And I have this amazing conversation where I can't respond to myself quickly, right? I need to give delays in responding to myself, so that I can provide the screenshots to the leadership. And it was this super fun experience where you're like, I don't know. This is probably the most unique experience in the game right now. Just, it was amazing. And then we negotiated with the king, and then we didn't actually act on that the target list, because the target list that the king presented included the guy who thought he was on the list. So it was just a super fun aspect of playing another character. And yeah, and it was just like that type of stuff was just, that's what made it so much fun.
Totally, totally. I was actually on Blue Tribe with you as Net Dragon in the very beginning before the swap happened, but I was pretty quiet, so I probably didn't even speak to you at all. But that's something I was going to ask you too, is you were someone who like always took the lead, and is there a certain point where you're like you have to like sort of step back and think? And I guess this question goes to you, Bomik, too, as another person who was a leader in your tribe. Did you at any point have to step back and think like, am I going too far? Like, am I putting myself as a target if I continue to take the lead? Like, I feel very strongly about this, or like there's a really obvious solution to this, and I know I can help out with it, and I can help everybody move forward and protect my tribe. But if I actually call it out and say it and take the steps, then am I like putting a target on my back?
Yeah, that was a huge. Or actually, Net Dragon, you want to answer that first?
Sure, I can if you want. Okay, so for me, it was, I will not play this game as a floater. I do not like to play this game sitting back, like whatever. If there's a gap in leadership, if someone needs to step up, I will step up and I will take leadership. I don't mind it. I really don't. I will take that leadership role, because I know that if I can lead the tribe, and I am not trying to be nefarious with my tribe. I'm always thinking the strongest tribe to the end, right? So in my tribe, I will 100% focus on making sure we have leadership, and if there isn't leadership, I will take it. And in that moment when you get to voting, as long as you can maintain objective metrics, right? As long as you can maintain, like, you guys, we need to get to the minimum vote as fast as possible. Start stacking. You know, you just stack, you stack, you stack. And I think a lot of tribes this season have kind of learned this strategy. Some failed, you know, later on with bloodbaths, but really it's, you know, if you can get to the minimum vote, you just have everyone just start voting for this person on the bottom of the list. And that's, you know, the easiest way to do it. And just being in a leadership role helps you avoid panic. And that's really what you need to avoid in those situations.
Yeah.
Go.
So I hate chaos. Like when people don't know what to do, when they're confused, I just feel compelled to step in. So it felt like I just had to post things. I had to say, everyone, today's game is this. Like, here are the tips. Here are the rules. Like, or today's voting strategy is this. Because when I see just people asking the same questions over and over, I'm like, this is an opportunity to add clarity and make everyone on the same page. So a lot of it, like when I would be doing voting things or challenges, it was honestly less strategic and more just, I want green team to like win today. And I just assumed that the higher percentage of the remaining tribe that was left was green, the better for someone on green. So it was like advance green as far as possible to the game. Like there was no choice that we were coming back. And then the way we would try to, like, as the game got farther and my target started getting bigger, I guess, or more visible, then it became a matter of like only do voting assignments like in the live meets, because no one can take screenshots of that. Obviously people can record audio, but it's not that deep, bro. But yeah, so I just stuck to voting assignments only live, so it can't get traced back to me, and then deleted the spreadsheets I mentioned. The one thing that happened like related to this, so we had like Ted and I kind of brokered the pink green alliance. So we had a group chat with two pinks and then two of us. They wanted more transparency because pink was kind of sussed out, so they added more pinks, and we're like, okay, we'll add more ambassadors. So there was 5 pink and 5 green on day 8 in this group chat called PG Alliance. That night 9 of the 10 got voted out. So somehow that alliance got like all but one.
Classic.
So that's when I realized, like, oh fuck, I need to not be the one in these alliance groups. And then the next day was like resurrection, and somehow it came back, but I didn't know like I was gonna resurrect. So there are 32 people left on green. They were like, what do we do now? Like, you're gone, Ted's gone. How do we organize? How do we keep green alive? So I was like, I got this. Like, send me the list of the 32 green left. I will create the group chat for you. This was like already after I was eliminated. I didn't think I was gonna win the resurrection challenge the next day. So I created the group chat, added all the old green in, or the green still left. And that like just like little like nice thing I did just to help ended up helping me, because in that green tribe they started jamming on the puzzle together. Same thing with our larger group. And then Michael, who got the immunity, posted the answer immediately in our small like green tribe first, and then he did it in the larger green tribe. Ted saw it as well, like around the same time, but I posted it like 3 seconds before she did. So like that like help ended up working out. But yeah, more broadly, I just couldn't help myself be visible, because I just needed to make sure people like played the game or voted the right way. I think next season, if I play again, which to be determined, I'll play much closer to Keel, like be more low key, like in the voting side, and just do my job in terms of the challenges and stuff. Like put in the effort, but don't make a target.
Yeah, I do think it's like a science and an art. Like if you want to play that leader role without getting knocked out, like you really have to be so diplomatic about everything and like really know how to say the right things, and you can't even let one thing slip. And I find that for me personally, it's very, very difficult when the chat is going so fast and you're just trying to like type something in. Like it's so hard to never say something that isn't gonna like rub someone the wrong way, you know, just like as you're talking. And so I sort of lean towards just like not saying anything, because I just can't keep up with like the super fast chats while also trying to like filter through what I'm trying to say and make sure that what I'm going to say is like not going to piss somebody off. But Bert said, I suspect I was a victim of the PNG, the pink and green alliance. I do know because I was on pink. I do know that I was not one of the leaders on pink. I do know that from what I heard that a lot of our target list on night 8 were the blue tribe. And I think we pretty much took the blue tribe out except for the final 2 players. I don't know, were we also targeting the red tribe that Bert was on? You would know, Bomik,
Yeah,
because you were.
the convo for the blue chip was actually really funny. We were just in a Google Meet together. We had aligned on who not to vote for, right? That was the easy
Yeah.
pick, pink or green. Then I also had low key mini cabals with the purple and orange, like 10 numbers that they didn't know about. So I just kind of kept that low key. And then we were like, okay, who do we vote for? And then it just we just put a list of all the tribes left, and they're organized by like how many were left. And we said, oh, blue has abstained the last 2 nights. Wouldn't it be funny if we just wiped them all out? So that was more of like what's the funniest thing we could do that we could actually pull off, less strategic and then more for the lulz.
More for the lulz. I'm sure they felt the same way.
At this point, I feel like entire Aqua tribe has stayed low key. Like, I've never seen anyone mentioning Aqua like ever.
Yeah. Aqua was pretty low key. Also, like yellow, I don't think I heard anything about yellow.
Yeah, Aqua was like never a target. But within the tribe, so like me and Jake were in Aqua from the beginning, right? Like we got swapped back to Aqua. We never got a chance to move out. So we started seeing, okay, whoever takes initiative just gets voted out that night. So we kept saying like, okay, let's just be active till the point where we are seen, but not really like a leadership area. And then somehow we survived.
Yeah. Nat Dragon, were you
Yeah,
gonna
I
say
do
something
recall
too?
the blue being in our. Oh yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember. Blue was in my chat after getting decimated, and they were during the vote, and they were just like, "Bro, who do we take out, Mr. King, sir?" And I just said, "Take out pink as many as you can." And I think
why pink? It was green as well. But why? Okay, this is my question for you as King Wilbert, not as Nat Dragon.
I had 3 on my list.
3
yes.
what?
3 tribes. I think it was pink, green, and orange. They were my focus towards the end.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I know we're way past time, so I want to wrap us.
I mean, there was like people from. Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, Nat Dragon. I think there's just a bit of a lag, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's probably Starlink acting up. No, go ahead. I think it's just, there's a lot to say about King Wilbert, but I wrote a big thread, I guess. But yeah, King Wilbert, I burned his NFT right before the end of the vote yesterday. The king is dead. Long live King Wilbert.
Yeah. Okay. A quick question from the chat, and then we're gonna wrap up with just some tea and hot takes. Bomik has a revenge story that he wants to share. But quick question, Crystal from the chat said, I need to know how I ended up in the boys club Cabal. I've literally never met or talked to anyone from there before. LOL. So King Wilbert, if you have a response to that.
I have no idea. I think that was season 2 meta. And meta is not always perfect, to be honest. This season, you were not really on my list. That was a season 2 focus, but I think I just borrowed some meta from back then, to be honest.
Okay, so outdated info. We got to update the directories for next season. Last thing, I want to go around and get either some sort of like confession or tea that you have from the season, and or a hot take that you have about the season. So we'll start with Bomik because I know Bomik, you're ready with it. So we'll start with you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Diana, if you remember last season, you had on a guest named Katie,
Katie
who
and Nico.
shared the
Yeah.
story of how we were best friends throughout the whole Green Tribe,
Yes.
and she single voted me out on day 8 and
Yes.
backstabbed me, and I was emotionally distraught. I've
You
been
took her
thinking about that
out.
moment for a year now. And this new season started. I didn't even think I was going to play. We were on separate tribes. When we swapped, or the swap happened, we both ended up on blue. And Katie immediately DM'd me saying, "Do I have my redemption arc, or is it over?" So I thought a lot. First of all, I cracked up at that. Thank you, Katie. That was the funniest message. And I thought about what to do. I hit up old people that were also hit by Katie. Like she also took out Richie from last season. So I was like,
Yep.
what should I do? And we decided to string her along. We're like, let's not vote her out yet, and cause the same pain she caused on me. So I did not vote her out when she was still in blue, saved her. And then post merge, when I caught my stray vote, like day 8, I was like, okay, what do I do? It doesn't matter, I'm out. With like 2 minutes left, I voted for Katie, and I got my revenge. So she got out the same night. She caught me out last season, and now the
Wow.
story is over. And I hope our friendship continues now, Katie.
You've come full circle. Wow. Wow. That's a good confession. I like it. I remember when she was voted out because she was in my tribe. And I think earlier that day she was also vouching for you because she was like, Green really wants to form an alliance with us. I know Bomik, he's really trustworthy. So that really came back to bite her. Amazing. Love it. Do you have any hot takes or anything you want to say about the season?
Honestly, like what I said in the beginning, I do think that gamesmanship should decide the winner. And I'm curious how that evolves now that like so many strategies are revealed. Like now
Yeah.
that we know, for example, that having a really good plan for how you're going to spend that money. Maybe people that are also good at the game will also consider that earlier. So maybe they'll plan that earlier. So I'm very curious, like how all these strategies, or like the TED thing of someone kind of gave her an NFT the day before. Maybe people actually plan around that. Maybe they actually like plan to have multiple NFTs that make it to the far, and then maybe like it gets gifted. So I'm curious how, if we play the same thing over, whether these strategies will evolve or people will just do the same thing, and we'll be back just debating who should win, the better game or the better cause or the better pre-game strategy. So I'm curious if people adjust or if it's like the same narratives at the end again.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. Okay, Akil, do you want to go next? Do you have a confession or tea to spill from the season?
Not really. I think this being my first season, I think I've just managed it to bring it this far. But I think next season, I think I would be probably on the hit list to get knocked out in the first go. Uh, but yeah, maybe in the next one. No, don't really have any tea to spill.
Do you have any hot takes about this season?
Yeah, I think similar to what Bhawmik was mentioning, right? I think hot take would be interesting to see what would be the winner campaigns for the next one. I think most probably even like what I have done this season might not work in the next one is what I'm thinking, because most of the narratives are largely how you're gonna spend the money, or like most people would not like most of the time if you just take the all the money, right? Even though that's the game that you're signed up for, but it's just that human behavior that people can't just like take it if you just take the entire pool uh, that you're winning. So maybe just like super interested to see what's going to happen, since everything has been like played and worked out now in 3 seasons. It would be like see what happens next.
Yeah. Okay, Jake and Hannah. Do you have, first of all, do you have a confession or a tea to spill from the season?
Not really. The only secret we could reveal is the spinny fish, and we are refusing to do that. So I guess I can give a hot take. My hot take is that you have to be anonymous, I think, to go most of the way. I think you had to have an alt identity, because if you had any kind of social presence before the game, you automatically had like a target on your back, and you were voted out in the round 8 or 9. But I think that does change with next season. If they do vote in, like vote for, it might be different. It might be people with profiles have like kind of a higher chance of surviving. I would also like kind of give some feedback on like suggestion for next season. I think having the leaderboard hidden for like the last like 5 or 10 minutes of voting would be really interesting. Like having that like hidden information aspect so that people could, you know, vote in the last 5 minutes and not like completely anonymously, and then we all see what the outcome was. It might make things more interesting, and I think you might get a bit more like backstabbery energy, which is more fun, I think, in a lot of ways. I don't know.
That could be interesting.
Yeah, that's everything. Yeah.
That could be interesting. Yeah, I think if it's vote in versus vote out, the strategy would be totally different. But I could also see if it's just like it's normal vote out until night 8 or night 9. Bomik was saying like everyone just reveals their alts on that night. Like, hey, it's me, Diana. And then it would be like, well, prove it. Like there would be so much psyops going on about, you know, people claiming to be other people without the proof.
I think one more thing I'd add as well is I'd prefer the NFTs to be soulbound. Like, I don't like how you can move them around and play games for each other, and people can buy and sell into the game. Like, I prefer it as if the player who minted it is the player that ends, and that's how it is. Yeah, I don't, and yeah, again, that's probably a hot take, but yeah, that's how I see it.
Yeah, Dylan is a TV host, so might not agree with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think game purists would probably agree with that take, Jake, and say that yeah, like should be still bound. And I'm assuming too. Like I remember when during the finale yesterday, you could click on a name and see if they were an original minter or not. And so people, game purists, you know, or people who hold that similar view as you, probably would only vote for somebody who's an original minter. And yeah, I think there's definitely a faction of people who hold that view. All right. Thank you for that hot take. Bert, I think we're off to you if you're ready to share a confession or any tea from the season that you might have. Do you have anything for us, Bert?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
My microphone's got all mixed up. Bert is willing to share one confession that he did snipe someone. But they did deserve it. It was someone kind of high profile, but he had gotten 2 votes on that day 8, and he was not going out without taking someone down with him.
Why does he think they deserved it?
He did, and he accomplished it. Great question. Bert, do you want to hold on? We'll see. Yeah, super not nice to dogs.
Oh.
Yeah, was not a fan of a dog being in the game. They were for sure caballing, and Bert doesn't play that kind of game.
So Bert, you know, everyone is dying to know. Everyone is dying to know who that person is.
Yeah, we need a name.
He'll consider releasing that information, but the vengeance of the last 5-second snipe really satisfied the need there.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
Okay, he's saying he will reveal it was someone on his same tribe.
So someone on Red Tribe that's somewhat high profile, you said, that hates dogs.
Yeah.
Okay. We're on it.
I mean, I don't know.
Rehash crew will find who this person is.
They had a personal beef with Bert.
Okay. On Red Tribe, high profile, hates dogs. Find them. Okay. Rehash is on it. We'll find them. And Bert too, if you want to slide into my DMs
Bert,
at any
thanks.
point, you are also welcome to as well. I will keep your secret safe.
He will take you up on that. He keeps running over here to tell me, insider information so that you don't all hear it. He
Okay.
also said he got one very suspicious DM from someone on Green Tribe, which is why he suspects he was a victim of the Pink Green Alliance. Someone that he thought was a friend DM'd that turned out to be very sketchy in the end, and he's suspicious. But also, it's a game. He's still friends with everyone. He respects the hustle and had a great time regardless.
This is why dogs are the best. Truly, just truly the best. Well, thank you, Burr. I will definitely be in your DMs after this, and we'll have a little chit chat. Net Dragon, finally, King Wilbert. I mean, you've spilled a lot of tea already and made a lot of confessions, but do you have any others that you would like to say before you go?
Oh, just a quick thing. This season I only played with a single token. Again, next season, if it's the same, I'm most likely just going to do that. I still think that, yeah, you can float. You can try to not make a target on yourself, but also if you can lead and keep your tribe strong, like that's actually a really legitimate strategy. I think maintaining strength as a tribe is key. I think I won't be able to resist doing that. And secondly, with King Wilbert, I think even if I had gotten out this time, the fun part of King Wilbert is that he was actually not tied to a token up until the very last moments of the finale. I probably would have just kept playing the part and playing the game even without having a token. It's just I love the game so much, and that's largely why I think when we introduce boat buying, when we introduce different aspects that are financial based, pot splitting, I'm heavy against that. I just feel that we need to keep the game pure and not turn it into a DeFi project. The ultimate end game, if we financialize the total gameplay, is you just throw all your tokens to a contract and they all just coast to the end, and then the contract is whatever, right? There's you can just really harm the game. And I think everyone can level up their gameplay next season. I don't think it has to just be like, let's all just float and whatever. I think, bring your game, level up, guys. Let's go.
Love it. That's a pretty hot take. And the chat's reminding me that I forgot to get a hot take from Bert because I was so shook by the info and so trying to figure out who this person is that deserved Bert's vengeance. But Bert, going back to you real quick, do you have a final hot take to wrap us up about this season?
Bert says he doesn't have a hot take. He, this was his first season. He went into it really cold and not knowing anything. So he was just happy to be included. That's his hot take, I guess. Thanks for letting a dog play Crypto the Game.
Go dogs everywhere. Let's get a pet cabal going next season. Does everyone in this chat have a dog or a cat or a pet of some sort? I think so, right? Yeah. So we'll all get our animals to play next season, and this will be the big pet cabal. Heard it here first. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Reminding me to plug Bert the Game.
Bert the Game.
Oh, sorry.
No, please tell us about Bert the Game.
Last minute plug for Bert the Game, which is heavily inspired by Crypto the Game, but you're welcome to play on Farcaster. There's a much smaller prize pool, way more bugs in the technology.
Wow.
And lots of fun chaos. But he was very inspired by Dylan, and so he created his own Bert the Game.
Awesome. Great to know. And how do people play? They just follow Bert on Farcaster and it'll become clear there?
Yep. He drops challenges when he feels like it, which is about every 3 days. And then he also announces winners when he feels like it. The fastest to complete the challenge usually gets 10 USDC.
Oh, there is a prize involved. Okay, awesome. Everyone go follow Bert on Farcaster. It's MMUPS, MUPS, and play Bert the game. Bomik, I know you have to hop. I know everybody probably has to hop. Sorry for keeping you guys so long. Thank you all so much for joining. Thanks for sharing your secrets and your tea and everything. King Wilbert, glad we got to meet you today and reveal your identity. Thanks for sharing your story behind that. Thanks everybody for tuning in. And yeah, Bert, this was Bert's first podcast ever. This was also the first time we had a dog on the podcast, and I would say it went swimmingly. So I would love to have more dogs. Bert just gets dropped on his donut. Also, if you're listening to this on audio, you should absolutely go back and watch it on YouTube because the visual is where it's at for sure. But thank you all so much. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Hopefully I'll see all of you in CTG season 4 and we can have a little cabal here. Don't target us, King Wilbert. You can be part of our cabal. Okay, thanks guys.
See you guys. Bye.
See ya.
All right, I've stopped the recording. Thank you all so